Hello, and welcome to the Admin Script Editor tutorial video on script signing. The purpose of this video is to acquaint you with the script signing features in Admin Script Editor, and then talk about how you can leverage those features in your own environment. To start with, we have a generic PowerShell script that returns a partial process list. Not too exciting. You can see that's what it does. Let's come up to Tools, Options, Script, Security. What we're going to do now is modify the PowerShell execution settings so that all scripts must be signed in order to run. Say OK. We'll execute this. And as you can see, I have a error message that talks about digital signatures and that it won't run. And obviously, that's exactly what we would expect to see. Now, before we can sign this script, we need to ensure that we have a valid certificate on the system that's capable of signing a script. How do we know if we have one? We go back to Tools, Options, Script Security. If you don't see a script or a certificate in this window, then you don't have one. Now, for those savvy users out there that have certificate servers in your environment, you can go ahead and if you have one that's already issued to you, it will show up here and you can actually begin using it right away. But for the rest of us that want to just do some testing, we want to go ahead and create a certificate. And this is yet another great feature of ACE. We actually allow you to create certificates right here in the window, right here in this dialog. And we're the only application that offers this feature. Other solutions or other editors out there would force you to go outside to arcane command line utilities or these crazy sets of instructions in order to get things to work properly. In our case, we have it all covered right here. So we're going to go ahead and select Create. And this is going to create a self-signed, self-issued certificate. Now again, this is only for testing purposes. If you're actually talking about rolling out production scripts that are signed, you're going to actually want to use a corporate certificate server to do so. But for testing purposes, we'll call this my first cert. And then we'll browse here and we'll just make, we'll call it the same thing, my first cert. And we'll save that. And what we're going to do now, we have both this top field represents the actual certificate name that's going to be installed. This file path on the bottom is the public key file that we'll need to import into the Trusted Root CA. So now that we have these two fields filled out, we just say Create. And we can see that the certificate was generated successfully. You will not find an easier way to generate a self-signed, self-issued certificate than this. We say OK. And we can see that our certificate is in the personal store. We're also the only editor that provides you a view of not only the personal store, but the root store. So if you have a code signing cert anywhere on the system, we will find it and allow you to use it. All right, good enough. OK, now that we have the certificate installed, we actually have to do one more thing. We have to go into the certificate manager here. And we can see that, in fact, the certificate is installed. My first cert, there it is. But we have to import that public key file that we created into two places, the Trusted Root Certification Authority and the Trusted Publishers. Again, this is only for testing purposes. You'll want to just do this to test, and then once you're done testing, undo these changes. Okay, and the import was successful, and we'll do the same thing in the Trusted Publishers. We will import the certificate that we created into the proper store. Again, the import was successful. So we see here it's in Trusted Publishers. It's in the Trusted Root Certification Authority. And of course, the actual signing certificate is here in the personal store, right here. So we can close this. Now I'm going to create another certificate. And again, if you're not sure about all those steps, they're actually listed right here at the top of this creation dialog. The things that we just did, installing them into the Trusted Root CA and the Trusted Publisher store. So instead of watching the whole video again, you can just go ahead and refer to this text. Now I'm going to say my second cert. And I'm not going to generate a key file this time just to show you that you don't have to. Again, it won't work as is. But again, for the savvy user out there that just wants to generate a certificate that you want to export yourself, you can do that. So right now, the only one that will actually work is this one. Now, let's say you have 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 certificates on your system. Well, you can set any one of them as the default. And we'll just leave the default as the first one. But you can change it. Whatever you change it to will become bold. And we'll leave my first cert the default certificate. Now that I have a certificate on the system, signing a script becomes a trivial matter if you're working in ASE. You just come up to File and select Sign Script. And it inserts this signature block at the bottom of the script. Now this will allow the script to run. And we can see that now the script in fact does run again. Previously we were getting this error about digital signatures. Now it works fine. Okay. Now the final thing I want to show you, again, that you won't find in other more primitive script signing implementations, is that not only can you sign it with the default certificate, but if you hover here, you'll actually get a list of all of the certificates that you can use to sign with. So in the case where you have 2 or 3 or 5 different certificates in a large organization, if you're an advanced user that is working in a large enterprise where you sign certain types of scripts with certain certificates, this gives you a lot of flexibility because you don't need to go into separate dialogues and change your defaults or do any of those kind of things. You can just come right here and select whichever certificate is applicable to the script that you're working with. Okay, very, very simple process, very simple. So we've just taken you through how to set the execution settings for PowerShell, and Windows Script Host works exactly the same way. You can sign VB scripts the exact same way that you do with the PowerShell, and then how you can actually create certificates, and then finally actually signing them. This has been a whirlwind tour. Hopefully those of you that aren't familiar with certificates and script signing really have a leg up now on getting started. Those of you that are more advanced users now know how to leverage ASE's features to coincide with your own certificates that you already have in your environment. So that's about it for script signing, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial.